Good morning, class. Today we are going to be talking about who drew the penis on the board? Who drew the penis on the board? You know what? If no one's going to take responsibility for this, Karen, get the f*** out of class. If I knew I had to look at a phallus every morning on my whiteboard, and I wouldn't have become a teacher. All right. Practicing positive vibes as I learned on Instagram. So, smiles, everybody, smiles. As I was saying, oh, yes. What's up, Kenzie? You got a question? Yes, I do have a question. Yes, so it's talking about fat loss. I just have a lot of fat here, just right here. And when I take Instagram photos, I always position myself in a way to make sure that nobody can see it. But you're just sitting like here, it's just a lot of fat. Do you know any exercises I can do to get rid of this fat? For f***'s sake. Kenzie, what you're talking about in terms of your Instagram pictures, let's not discuss Instagram in class. As for exercises for fat loss, we've said this about 500,000 times. You can't choose where you lose fat. The only way to lose fat is to be in a calorie deficit, and that's sort of what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it, shall we? So, class, today I want to talk about oh, sorry, mate. What's going on, Richard? Would you actually mind just calling me Dick? Jesus Christ. Yeah, sure, Dick. What's going on? Thanks, mate. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know and give you a sincere apology. I was the one who drew that penis right there, not Karen. So, on with the lesson. You know, Dick, that was very mature of you to tell the truth like that. But, you know, it was probably Karen's fault somehow anyway, right? So, let's get back to the lesson. Okay, so now it's just gonna be you and me. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you like the video and subscribe if you don't already. If you're not new to the channel, you know how awful I am with the introductions, so welcome back. And what we're talking about today is calorie cycling for fat loss. But there's two major things I really want you to take from this video. Number one, I want to help you make fat loss easier. I want to make sticking to a calorie deficit easier over the long term. And there are many ways to do that. Actually, in a very recent video, I did an entire video on making fat loss more sustainable. And I want to take that one step further with this to teach you how to cycle your calories to make it as sustainable and as easy as possible. The second thing is I want to answer a very common question I get about fat loss. And once people know that a calorie deficit is the most important when it comes to fat loss, one of the most common questions is, do I need to be in a calorie deficit every day? Like every 24 hours, or can it be more of an average throughout the week? And the answer is it can definitely be more of an average throughout the week, and that's what I want to show you. I want to show you different ways to structure your calories throughout the week to make it as easy as possible so you don't have to be in a deficit every single day. So with that being said, let's get into it. So I have 4 ways that are my personal favorites to structure your calories throughout the week. I'm gonna take you through each one. Before I do, and please listen very closely, if you don't know how many calories you should be eating for fat loss, linked in the description of this video is my free tutorial. It's a free video on YouTube. It's one of my most popular videos. People have seen tremendous results. Literally just got a message on Instagram when I went to go pee. I checked my phone. Someone told me they lost 50 pounds from watching that video. Please go watch. You'll learn exactly how many calories you need to eat to lose fat. With that said, now I'm gonna talk to you about each different type of deficit and give you the pros and cons. The first one being the straight deficit. And this is really the most boring one, the most simple one. You don't need too much explanation, but the idea of it being that you eat the same amount of calories every single day. You figure out what your deficit is, and Monday through Sunday, the same number of calories. For me, I don't like this. And that's just personal. It doesn't mean it's bad. I have a lot of clients and inner circle members who do this very well. Personally, because my schedule is all over the place, because I travel a lot, because I never really know where I'm gonna be at any point in time with more than 24 hours in advance, I like to have more flexibility. I like to have days where I know I'm gonna eat very, very low, and I like to have other days where I know I can have much more leeway. If I have the same amount every day, it's easier for me to get in my head if I go too far over or too far under. Not that that's bad, but just being in my head, it makes me think, oh no, like I'm gonna have to make up for it another day. It leads to bad habits. So if your schedule is very set in stone, and if you just like eating the same amount with little variance, go with the straight deficit. If you think you might like having some higher days and some lower days, let's go into the next 3. So the alternate deficit This is my personal favorite. It's what I've done for a long time. So either the alternate or the 5-2 is my personal favorite. They all work very well, but I want to explain the alternate because I think it works well for most people. And what you're going to see here is I just added a bunch of letters and numbers. Basically, if you can't see the up, down arrows, I'm gonna explain them all. We'll put up a picture from one of my Instagram posts. What you'll notice is I have high days and low days. On Monday, let's imagine, for example, you watched my video on how many calories you need to lose fat, okay? And let's say for the straight deficit, you came out at 1,500 calories. Here, you would eat 1,500 every single day. But if you didn't want to have 1,500 every day, how would you then adjust your calories? That's what we're doing right here. You'd have 4 low days and 3 high days. And you can structure them however you want. Even if you wanted all of the high days in a row, you could. I spread them out throughout the week. Monday would be a low day, Wednesday would be a low day, Friday would be a low day, and Sunday would be a low day. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, those would all be high days. And you just split it up. So if you're having 1,500 every day, then you split them up evenly. So now you'd have 1,275 on Monday, 1,275 on Wednesday, 1,275 on Friday, 1,275 on Sunday. Then your high days, you'd have 1,800 Tuesday, 1,800 Thursday, and 1,800 Saturday. What I want to clarify here, so please pay very close attention, it doesn't matter what the numbers are each day, as long as at the end of the week, you're in a net calorie deficit. So watch my video, link in the description, on how many calories you need for fat loss, and make sure that at the end of the week, you're eating the right number of calories. That's all that matters. The day-to-day is less important as long as the weekly calories are on point. And really quick, before we go on to the weekend warrior, I just want to clarify one thing right here because I know people are going to be in the comments getting all mad. 1,275 calories, that's so little, 1,275 calories. Listen, number one, this is an example. Not everybody has to eat this number of calories. If you want to know how many you need, go watch the video I've discussed already. The second thing is, in a recent video I made called Can Eating Too Little Damage Your Metabolism? I cover a very common myth. And the myth being that eating too little will put you in starvation mode. I go much more into depth on the science and the physiology of that. So if you want to watch that, link is in the description. For the sake of this discussion, nobody in the world has ever gotten fat from eating too little. Period, end of story. No one's gotten fat from eating too little. Never happened, never will happen, not how the body works. So with that being said, let's get to the weekend warrior.
We're rolling. No, like we can start now. Jordan, we're rolling.
All right, so we're talking about the weekend warrior deficit. That's actually Rico behind the camera, by the way. The link to his Instagram is in the description as well. Go give him a follow. None of this would be possible if it were not for Rico, and I mean that with all of my heart, so thank you, Rico. Let's talk about the weekend warrior. Now this one, it all relates to the 1,500 a day example. And I'm saying example because it's an example for all the people in the comments who are like, 1,500 doesn't work for everyone, it's individual. I know, it's an example, okay? Using the 1,500 example, we have 4 low days in a row and 3 high days in a row. The reason I structure it this way is because a lot of people that I've worked with, both in clients and my inner circle members, their week to week is relatively the same. Monday through Friday is very the same. They have a similar schedule. And a lot of times, because they're so busy during the week, they don't even really think about food. They don't have as much time to think about food. They can meal prep, they have everything ready to go. So because they can do that and because they're on the go, they can eat relatively low calorie. Again, 1,200 is just an example. They can eat relatively low calorie without it being an issue. Then, during the weekend, when they're having family dinners and they're going out to eat, they want more leeway. And a lot of times we structure it like this because even if they're not meticulously tracking every calorie, they've saved up so many for the end of the week that they don't necessarily need to track as carefully because they've saved up. That being said, you still need to track, you still need to be aware. Regardless of whether or not you're tracking your calories, they still count. If you do this method, don't eat next to nothing all week and then binge out all weekend and then be upset that you lost your progress. You still have to be aware. So if you decide to try this, I still recommend, especially for the first 30 days, track meticulously for the first 30 days so you get a really good idea of how much you're eating and how many calories you're taking in. Because regardless of whether or not you do this, regardless of whether or not you're tracking every calorie, looking it up, putting it in your thing, the calories still count, always. I will say, and this is very important, if you struggle with binge eating, if you struggle with a disordered eating habit, if you struggle with anxiety around food, I wouldn't recommend this one, especially because what'll happen is oftentimes when you struggle with disordered eating, you struggle with food anxiety or binge eating, you get really excited at the idea of eating as much as you possibly can. And that's the reason why I didn't say you can eat as much as you possibly can. You can't. This isn't eat as much as you possibly can. This is strategically having a higher calorie day, 3 days a week, so you can eat more on those days and not worry about it on the other days. This is not a free-for-all, this is not a binge. But if you know that something is often triggered by having very, very low calories, don't do it. Go for the straight deficit or the alternate deficit. Don't even think about trying the 5-2, because I'm gonna go into that next. If you struggle with disordered eating or anything like that, any binge eating, do not do this or that. Not worth it, don't do it. This is probably the best bet for you. This might also work as well, as long as you don't take the low days too low. All right, so any questions on any of these so far, put them in the comments. And now, let's get to the 5-2. Really quick, before we get into the 5-2, if you're new here, I have something called the Sorting Hat Squad, which basically, if you comment down below, first, obviously you have to like and subscribe. If you comment down below after liking and subscribing, with the hashtag Sorting Hat Squad, you're immediately entered to win a free month in my inner circle. I pick 3 winners from every video. I put them on my Instagram, so if you don't follow me there, you can do that right here. Thank you, Rico. Hashtag Sorting Hat Squad in the comment. You're immediately entered to win, so do that right now. Thank you so much. Let's get to the 5-2. Before we get into the specifics of the 5-2, I want to reiterate, if you struggle with binge eating, if you struggle with food anxiety, if you struggle with disordered eating habits in any way, do not try it. Don't even watch this part. X out. Make sure you do the Sorting Hat Squad and X out. Don't watch this. I mean it. This is a type of intermittent fasting, so if you want to learn more about intermittent fasting, if it's right for you, I have an entire course on it, a free video course, in my opinion, one of my best videos ever, because it really explains parts of intermittent fasting that most people never discuss. The link to that is in the description, and now I want to talk to you about the specifics of this method. So we're going to use the 1500 calorie example again. Okay, just an example, not for everyone. If your intake daily was supposed to be 1500 calories, what you're gonna notice is I have 2 fasting days in here. So Monday would be a fasting day and Thursday would be a fasting day. Again, just an example. You can structure it however you want. But the point of this is basically you have 2 fasting days every week and 5 non-fasting days, where basically you just eat more calories. Again, the whole purpose is to make sure that at the end of the week, your calorie intake would be the same regardless of whether you're doing the straight deficit, the alternate deficit, the weekend warrior, or 5-2. You make sure at the end of the week, your calories are where they should be. So for example, if you didn't want to do 2 fasting days, you could just do 1, and then you would reduce the calories slightly and have 1 extra eating day. Again, if you struggle with disordered eating or binge eating or anything, do not do this one. It's gonna trigger something. I don't want you to do it. But this is very good for people who have some days in the week where they're not hungry at all, where maybe you're so busy, or maybe you're traveling, or maybe you have a ton of meetings and you have no time nor patience to eat. Gary Vaynerchuk is one of my personal training clients. He's my only in-person one. This works very well for him. This is one of his favorite ways of doing things, because when he's traveling 2, 3, 4 days in a row, when he has business meetings all day from 7 a.m. all the way until 1 a.m., sometimes he just doesn't want to eat. Not because he's not hungry, but because he doesn't have the time, he doesn't even think about it. So this can work really well for you if you have a crazy schedule, and or you just would rather have some days where you don't eat at all. This way you can have other days where you have much, much higher calorie intake. Again, it's not eat as much as possible. It's not an all-out binge. It's just higher calorie days, so that at the end of the week, they're where they need to be in a calorie deficit, all right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it, subscribe if you don't already. Make sure you hashtag Sorting Hat Squad down below to enter to win a free month in my inner circle. Thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate you watching my videos and subscribing. The channel's had some really big growth in the last few months, and it means everything to me. So thank you. And also, if you don't know, I'm in the middle of my 30-day challenge right now to eat a Big Mac every day, 1 a day, for 30 days straight. I'm like halfway done right now on Instagram. Follow me there if you don't already. At the end of the challenge, I'm gonna push it on YouTube. And if you see that video and if it helps you, it would mean the world to me if you share it, because I want it to help as many people as possible. So with that said, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.